dancing with the devil with your long dark hair. How are you? Let's dance like there's no one here. You say you want a lover and you need them now. Under the cover of the lost you're found. Been dancing with the devil with your perfect smile. How are you? Let's dance, baby, oh let's dance, baby, oh let's dance, baby, on your own. Are you feeling so?
Yes, it's that time of the year again. Good morning and welcome into the Silver Collar preview show as we look forward to the running of the SENZ Duke of Edinburgh Silver Collar. I'm joined by Mark Rosanowski and Andy McCook in Christchurch. And firstly, Rozo, I know this is your favourite time of the year and what a race we've got assembled once again.
Yes, we have the Duke of Edinburgh Silver Collar. It's a race like no other and it's over the extreme distance of 779 metres. We won't go through the history of the race, but it's fantastic. And we've now had 50 runnings. And we got a winner last year in Karen Walsh with Thrilling Amelia, and that was after a year's hiatus. We had to wait for the 50th run and we finally got there. Unfortunately, the Duke of Edinburgh didn't quite make it, but the Duke of Edinburgh Silver Collar lives on. We come to the 51st running and just the third commentator ever. Brian Hunt called the first two, Peter Early called 48, and Aaron White will do the 51st. And I know he can't wait and I can't either.
And of course, our southern expert is Andy McCook down in Christchurch. Andy, how much are you looking forward to this edition? And look, what a great southerner you've got in this field with no keeper.
Going to be an absolute boomer, this collar, there's no doubt about that. One of the best times to be involved in greyhound racing here in New Zealand. And this year, with the Waterloo Cup on as well, both markets dominated by Cantabrians. Pip, it's one of those years where I'm really happy to be down here in Canterbury, and I think a little bit of parochialism might kick in, but I think the Cantabrians might dominate proceedings.
Certainly could. Well, let's find out what we've got to look forward to today on the show. Of course, we are going to break down the heats for you, go through the sectionals, have a look at all of the contenders as they make their way through to the final on Sunday. And we'll be doing that very shortly. We'll also be looking at the Silver Collar runner by runner. We'll go through them from the top of the book, starting with Mr. Fahrenheit. We'll also catch up with the new voice of the collar, of course, Aaron White, and get his thoughts on who he might like to be calling across the line first. And coming up, Andy McCook did catch up with Gary Cleve, of course, has two runners into the final, including the short price favourite and no keeper. And the Waterloo Cup preview, who can forget about the Group 1 feature as well on the programme, with one of the favourites pictured there, Craig Roberts with Talbingo Bale. And our best bets, so can't forget about putting together some bets and hopefully finding you a winner or two on the programme.
Here's a look at the final field for the Group 1 Duke of Edinburgh Silver Collar. Of course, we kick it off with runner 1, Mr. Fahrenheit, for one of the smaller guys in greyhound racing, the Morris team, one that one of our co-hosts will be pretty keen to have a chat about. I'm picking dog 2, No Account, one of two in the race for Gary Cleve out of the No Class, No Jinx litter. His brother, No Keeper, certainly stealing the limelight, but he's got to be a chance. Nighthawk Style for Matt Roberts, making her way up from her Canterbury base, and of course race favourite dog 4, No Keeper, comes up with a squeeze draw, but so far unbeaten through 16 over ground.
And then the outside half of the field, Thrilling Rogue, brilliant off box number 1 in the heat, stepping up over 700 for the first time and being dominant. 3 from 3 distance racing now for the new collar queen in Karen Walsh. Centurion off box number 6, raced by Ray Amer, who won the race with a close relation to this dog in 2011 with Nina's Girl for the Fahey team there too. Out in box 7, Shelley Pom. Look, we've got a number of really good young trainers in the sport, and Sean Codlin is one of those, and he has a runner in the Duke of Edinburgh Silver Collar. And Little Teagues, yep, she's back from last year. She ran 3rd last year, probably not drawn ideally out there at 8, but she's back for Arch Lawrence, who's got such a storied history in the collar.
And it's now time to have a look at the final field market, and of course no surprise to see that No Keeper does come up as your short priced favourite at $1.20.
Yes, well, he had to be, didn't he? $1.25 is where he has come up as we have a look at it. This is in market order, not box order, of course. He's got box number 4. Thrilling Rogue, the other heat winner, 5.5. A clear second favourite, and Mr. Fahrenheit, who was chasing home Thrilling Rogue at $12, comes up with the inside draw. We'll talk more about that very shortly. Then we go out to 18s. Centurion Nighthawk Style, No Account, the brother of No Keeper. They're out to 41. We've also got Little Teagues out there and Shelley Pom at 40 to 1. Phillipa, a market that almost writes itself, and I suspect that come race day, those that are at 40 to 1 will be longer. The 18s, the 20 to 1s, they will drift as well.
Absolutely. Look, I think if you took the 1.8 and No Keeper in the futures market, you'd be smiling a bit like a Cheshire cat right now. Maybe the way to play this market, Andy, could be looking outside of the favourite here and maybe playing the top 3 option, because there's some really nice dogs at a good quote to run top 3.
Yeah, there certainly are, and a couple of those Canterbury chases at good money. Nighthawk Style 420, No Account 450. Pretty keen that one of those two, if not both of those two, could potentially run into the money. Both very good through their heats, and at a big price of $4, they have to be some sort of chance.
Let's have a look now at the speed map. And Rosa, not often you might think over a 779 metre race that speed could come into play, but look, it certainly can. It showed that in the heats, and our 2 favourites here, No Keeper and Thrilling Rogue, do map to get forward early.
Phillipa, statistics will show you that you still want to be forward in a greyhound race like the Silver Collar. Be it 318 metres, 779 metres. I've seen a lot of races lost at the first bend over the distance. Collar winners, who could have been collar winners in waiting, who had their chances ruined at the first bend. This is not a preferred box draw, that's for sure, because Mr. Fahrenheit's not really ideally suited to the 1, Little Teague's not ideally suited to the 8, and Thrilling Rogue wants the inside. No Keeper's drawn right up along the middle, and if we look at that speed map there is the potential for the 3 favourites to be shoulder to shoulder into the first bend and jostling for the same bit alone.
And that is the scary thing, and I suppose we will find that out on Sunday. Let's take a look at heat number 1. 2 dogs coming out of this running 1-2. Thrilling Rogue, Mr. Fahrenheit, running into 3rd, Centurion as well. And he's a dog you'll really want to have a look at here in box number 5, along with No Account. Rosso, though, the winner coming from the front there, Thrilling Rogue.
Yeah, it was easy to watch up front here with Thrilling Rogue doing the business in front. It was just a case of, OK, how's he going to go with the 779 metres? Well, look, he's out of Corinth Vale and he's trained by Karen Walsh. There was always a good chance that he'd run it as well as he did, and Mr. Fahrenheit giving good chase. Centurion, as you say, one to watch in the gold rug with a good strong finish. What I love about their first 3 home here, Phillipa, is they're all good young stayers.
They certainly are, and Andy, having a look at Centurion here, this was a really eye-catching run, because if you just follow him all the way around, boy did he find trouble.
He certainly did, and run of the race also the other Cantabrian in No Account, who just got buffeted from everywhere. He was like a pinball in the early stages of the race. He's all over the back of his tears and trying to find a run, and into the corner it just gets worse and worse for poor old No Account. He cops a bad check out the back door. Centurion in front of him. So both of those greyhounds very good. Hard to see either of them winning it, but with the way they found the line, the backup shouldn't be an issue and obvious place chances.
And let's have a look at the sectionals as well, because that can be key around these dogs and where they're placed in the running. Obviously, Thrilling Rogue, Rosso, with the quickest early speed there in 18.59. Mr. Fahrenheit not too far behind, and it shows the story with Centurion. Look at his midsection, 11.88 after finding that trouble early.
Yes, and the 16.14 run home of No Account was only a 10th off his brother No Keeper in the other heat. And Centurion, as you say, that 11.88 through the middle there. What about Thrilling Rogue, 18.59, and of course No Keeper in the other heat was only a smidgen after that. That compared very favourably with the best sprinters on the day, and that shows you these greyhounds, the modern stayer, they are fast as well as being strong.
And that's the real key, isn't it? As we have a look at heat number 2, of course, your favourite No Keeper. And speaking about being quick early, have a look at the early speed he had in this race. I suppose, Rosso, you could argue the other dogs in this probably lacked that little bit of early speed, so he got it all his way. But when he did, boy, did he put up some very nice times.
Well, he did. And it's the beauty again of this dog, isn't it? He's almost the perfect dog because he's got that early speed. He's got that ability mid-race, and he can still round it off in the best sectional across the 2 heats. And so really the others, you think, well, how can they possibly turn this around? Because the conditions were pretty average, weren't they, as we can see there. So look, the others were doing some good work in behind, but they're just chasing, I was going to say a shadow, but it wasn't sunny, there were no shadows.
No, there certainly wasn't. And again, Andy, another Cantabrian hitting the line really strong was Nighthawk Style, and she's just that type of greyhound, isn't she, where she lacks that little bit of speed. She's one pace, but she can stay all day.
She stays all day, as you say, and the backup will be no issue for her if there is to be any slight issue around her. She's not the bravest dog into corners. You'll see her here. She just sort of looks after herself a little bit, waiting for gaps to open. Ali's just getting away from the rail, and she had an opportunity to drive under him, and it took her a little stride or two just to put her best paw forward and get underneath of him. But once she did, she found the line. But gee, it's very hard to go past No Keeper, and the way the field draws up, I think, with No Keeper inside of Rogue, makes it that little bit trickier for Rogue to get around him and put himself in the race.
And these sectionals, Rosso, they tell a story. 1863 for Keeper early, so a touch slower down on Thrilling Rogue in the first heat, but his other sectionals, 1175, 1604 and 4642, are clearly by far the best of the rest.
Indeed, that is the perfect scenario for a greyhound, and if only he had drawn the perfect box, and I don't think he has, the way that the field's drawn up in and around him, but that gives us a little edge, a little bit of intrigue into the first bend.
It really does, and other dogs running on nicely in behind. Well, Nighthawk Style was one of those with a 1620. That's clearly a very good time for her, and it does stack up with heat number 1.
It does. Shelley Pom, not bad through the middle there, the 1185. Didn't quite run on the same as I thought. She might just keep eating up that ground, but nonetheless she's done enough to get there. But it's just complete dominance at the top of that heat and across the board with the sectionals. And the only sectional that was topped from No Keeper was in the first heat for the first sprint sectional by Thrilling Rogue, but that's when Thrilling Rogue had the one, and as Andy said, it's all different in the final with Rogue in 5.
It really is. Let's have a look at the two heats now side by side and compare them, especially as far as their sectionals do go. So you can see here, Andy, Thrilling Rogue with that early speed, 1859, just ahead of No Keeper. And as Rosa alluded to, maybe the box draws could come into play with him drawing to the outside of Keeper.
Going to make a massive task in front of Thrilling Rogue. There's half a length between them in terms of the sprint split, so he's going to have to work really hard here to get across No Keeper in the early stages of the race. No Keeper pretty consistent off the lids as a rule over these extreme trips, so it's hard to see him making an error. So Rogue's going to have to be very good here, and I think it makes it really tough for him, and it means that a number of these stronger greyhounds, the likes of the Nighthawk Styles, the Noah Counts, and even the Centurions, it means they might just be that little bit closer going through the second lap of this final, with Rogue having to do a fair bit of work.
That tells a story, just having a look at them side by side there, Rosa. He wasn't that much further in front of Thrilling Rogue and Mr. Fahrenheit, just enough though to have that really exceptional speed throughout, just to carry him a little bit quicker throughout his whole time. Yeah, and we have seen him in his races that he is able to do some work if required, and I think that's the comforting thing if you are on No Keeper at the dollar at 80 cents, which you're probably thinking is pretty luxurious now, and then you saw the box draws like, oh, slight heart and mouth, but the fact of the matter is that, he can muscle up and he can do the extra, and when you play those two together, as you say, it would suggest that he's going to have to. And for the ultimate contest in terms of dog on dog, those three being within sort of a length of each other going to the first bend, that's Mr. Fahrenheit, Thrilling Rogue, No Keeper. That's where we'll get a genuine race and a contest, and as Andy says, it may bring some of the others into play, because if there's a little bit of jostling and checking, those stronger dogs might not be so far away. Well, that's how they stack up sectionally. Time to take a break now, and then we'll be coming back and going through them runner by runner.
And here's No Keeper through the middle, goes to the front, will score.
No Keeper, the hot pot, stalking the leader. But have a look at a class act go about his business. He's put them to the sword, and he's too good, No Keeper.
But it's all the Keeper 8 from 8 over ground, and he's a dead set staying star. No keeper, big win.
This is a dog who just knows how to win, doesn't he? And the great thing about when you back him, even at the shorts, you know you're still in the hunt halfway through.
And No Keeper will swing for home, well clear and no danger. Races away to get the prize. Away goes No Keeper. 12 from 12 here tonight. No Keeper over the trip.
Welcome back into the Silver Collar Preview Show. I hope you're enjoying the coverage so far. And it is time, Mark Rosanowski and Andy McCook, to go through these runners runner by runner. And we'll start at the top of the book with the one. His name is Mr. Fahrenheit. He is trained by Carol Morris, and he's had 30 starts, Rosso, and won 10 of them and placed on 9 occasions. He's 3 from 3 over the 600 metres, and he's now placed over the 779 metres. Very good in his heat from box number 7 when running second, and he almost did look to me that he was the dog that just checked with Hare's Tears a little bit, which may have just taken a slight bit of momentum maybe off his time initially, but I was really pleased with the way that he stuck on, especially on a Manukau track where he's a funny dog. He can take a look or two, so very pleased with his performance first up.
Yeah, full disclosure here, Phillipa. Carol Morris is your mother, and this dog's owned by your father, Wayne, and this is a great thing for you and the family. And I'm delighted because I've been calling him throughout his career. He's got a face like a Neenish tart. Google that if you haven't had one. I just love him. I love the look of him, the way that he races. He stays off the rail, as you can see here, and you know, I want to ask you your concerns with him being in box number 1. He's had box 1 a couple of times. One time he completely panicked, it was quite early in his career, and the second time he was kind of okay, he sort of eased off. Now this is him winning over 660 metres, and I'm picking that this was probably the race that convinced your parents to go ahead with it, because he actually, you know, he had to do a little bit of work here, and he had to do a bit more work last time, so he you know, it's not like he's just been blowing to the front, which he kind of did the first 660 win. So my question for you is, box number 1, how do you feel about that, knowing the dog's racing traits so far?
I think, like what you said, if it was earlier on in his career, I would be very, very concerned, because early on he really wanted to push out. I do find now that he's just matured a little bit. He's not coming out as bad as he was, and you even see it there, Andy. He's in box number 7 and he just moves out, I want to say 2 lengths, where he used to move out about 5 lengths now. So I don't think box 1's that bad, because a 779 metre race, he's got enough speed, Andy, to get forward enough, I think, early, just to move out a touch to where he wants to be. And I spoke to Mum and Dad and looked, I'd prefer the ace than the 8 trying to come across, so maybe it's not the worst place for him to be. 3 would have been better, but hey, we'll take the 1.
Sometimes you just got to take box number 1, no matter how you go from it. He's a greyhound who, as you say, he certainly matured a lot in his recent racing. Those 600s seem to have really grown him up as a greyhound, and he's come a long way in a short period of time. I'm more worried about a little bit of pressure coming across onto him from the likes of No Keeper and Thrilling Rogue, and what's going to happen into this first corner if that does eventuate. So a little bit tricky from the draw for mine, but he deserves his place there, and it would be great to see him running into the cash for the family.
Certainly was, and of course Dad was out and about at Manukau doing the handling on Sunday. I caught up with him and asked him, even though he himself has a high opinion of this greyhound, was he expecting him to run as well as he did over the 779 first up?
Well, I knew he had the pace and to get up handy, and there was always a doubt with me that he could get the last 200, because he's a very fast dog. So to be sticking on and when those first 2 dogs cleared the rest, I thought, well, he's definitely a chance. And hey, he was eating into the lead of the winner, so I was over the moon. And he's come off the track like he hasn't even blown. I'm just, yeah, huge.
Are you expecting improvement after having that first run?
Oh, for sure, yeah. He'll improve lengths on that.
Look, starting of his career, he wanted to race out quite wide. Are you happy with how he's railing now? Would you prefer an inside alley this time rather than out wide?
Yeah, yes. He does jump from inside alleys, and he's not running out like you say. He wants to follow the rail, so I'm just lucky to be in the final, wrapped, yeah.
And just quickly, what would it mean to you to win this race?
Well, I won the New Zealand Derby with a horse, and I lost it 20 minutes later, so that'll be just the biggest buzz ever. Be just as good a feeling as that one.
And just quickly, better mention the actual trainer. Is she going to make the trip up as well, Carol Morris, or is she going to stay at home and do the work?
I might stay home and she can come up. I'll go to karaoke.
Can tell you just quickly, she will not be coming up and he will be doing the handling and not going to karaoke. As we move on to number 2, No Account. Of course, the second runner in the field for Gary Cleve. He does have the favourite No Keeper. This is his brother and he's a little bit underestimated. He lives in No Keeper's shadow a bit here, Rosso, but he did qualify through to the final. And look, as we alluded to, he missed the kick a little bit and he just found all sorts of trouble. But his exceptional run home, his closing sectional, he deserves his place in this final.
Certainly does. He's only won the one distance race, but he's competed in quite a good number of them. Keep an eye on him here in this heat because, as you say, and Andy pointed it out earlier too when we were watching the replays, I mean, look at the check there. I mean, that brings you to a standstill. And I talked earlier about, you know, how dangerous it is that you just don't think you're going to get a decent check and get away with a silver collar. But this dog at least was able to recover from that and qualify, gives himself a chance, comes up with box 2, lacks a little bit of early speed. He had box 2 in the Kingston Cup where he ran 4th. He ran a good solid line to the first bend and kept himself in contention. And it's really about him keeping himself in contention. Another average beginning will be good. He'll have Mr. Fahrenheit in his face, but hopefully we just back off him, so that'll be okay. And then he gets the opportunity to run into the money, and there's plenty of people who think he can do that at reasonable odds.
Andy, as Rosso just alluded to there, with Mr. Fahrenheit maybe moving off and that lack of early speed for No Account, is that a good thing for him and maybe he'll just get a good enough position to maybe run a top 4 place in this race?
I think he's definitely a chance, and that's the best thing that could happen for him. He needs to flop the rail and get a relatively clean run. He's not a greyhound who has much of a racing brain on him. If there's trouble to be found, he tends to find it, and we saw that through his heat. His closing section was very, very good. Now, this is him in the Kingston Cup. He runs into 4th year of the black and white stripes. In the blue is race rival Nighthawk Style, who makes up a stack of ground late in the piece to get to 3rd. But there's just another indication of No Account and his lack of racing mannerisms, just off the heels of Humbling in front of him, inside, outside, didn't know what to do, tripped over a heel. So although Keeper's got a whole lot more speed than him, and that's the reason that he lives in his shadow, Keeper's also got a whole heap more racing mannerisms and a racing brain on him, and that's the other thing that separates the two brothers. But Account's certainly a chance of running into the minors.
Let's have a look at runner number 3 in the book. This is another Cantabrian. It is Nighthawk Style for Matthew Roberts. She's a little girl that's been up to Manukau as well in the past over the 779 metres. She finished 2nd in her heat behind No Keeper. And she comes up with box number 3 in the final. She's by Corborn Brick out of Nighthawk Rose, who was a very good stayer herself. She's won 3 from 37, but she's got a very good distance record, Rosso. When you have a look back through her, she's placed 5 times over the 700 metres, and she wants the dog hitting the line very strong.
Yeah, indeed. Look, she doesn't win many races, does she, thus far? But a couple of them have been distance races. Just terrific to see greyhound by the late Corborn Brick in the final. I think that's terrific. And raced by Kim Fraser, along with Sarah Clausen. Now, Kim handles a lot in the Central Districts, and I see Kim, most weeks. And from the time Nighthawk Rose first had her first litter of pups, I was being kept updated on a weekly basis pretty much with the photos, and so I've seen Nighthawk Style and all of the other progeny of Nighthawk Rose at various stages, and of course some of them have gone on to win some pretty good races, and I'm just thrilled for them to have this runner in the final, and she just keeps on keeping on, and we see her here making solid ground and coming underneath runners here, and we saw her making ground on that Kingston Cup when we were looking at No Account, and that certainly gives her a place. Chance. She's clearly going to need issues for the favourites to be a silver collar winner.
She certainly is. And Andy, what kind of run do you see her getting off for box number 3? Because as you alluded to, she's not the bravest little bitch, is she?
No, she's not brave. She needs the right sort of run to be winning. She's a greyhound who I can see flopping the rail here. If she makes one of her fair beginnings, gets in behind these lead greyhounds, she's another one who could just be hunting paint. She doesn't leave the rail once she gets on it, and if things happen in front of her, then she will be looking to chug underneath them. The backup, no concern for her. She'll run all day long, little Nighthawk Style. She just needs to get to that rail, get a run through. I'm pretty big on her running into the minors here, team. I think she's a really big rough chance of running into the minors at a big price of around $4.50. And I think when you're looking at No Keeper, who's a $1.25 favourite, you have to look for value somewhere in the market, and her at $4.50 is where you want to be looking.
Well, let's have a look what her trainer has to say about her. I did ask him on Sunday. He must have been pleased with her 2nd and behind No Keeper.
Yeah, no, I was happy with her performance. She was finding the line well late, a few lengths behind the winner, but hopefully there's some improvement for the final.
How did she bounce back through it? She's very clean-winded, isn't she?
Yeah, generally she bounces back pretty good. She's not the greatest traveller in the world, so we've got to overcome that. But we've got a week to turn around and get home and come back again, so hopefully it all goes well.
Where would you like to draw in the final?
I think she probably closer to the rail, the better for her. Yeah, she just needs to sort of take a bit of a sit. She's not the bravest, so doesn't want any jostling or that sort of thing. So yeah, just needs the right dogs around her.
You were runner-up in the race last year with Claus and Leo. Do you think she can make the top 4?
Yeah, I think she's a good place chance. Obviously very hard to beat No Keeper on the back of what he did today, but yeah, I think she's a genuine top 4 chance.
Number 4 in the book is a dog that we all know, and his name is No Keeper. He is by no class out of No Jinx, and of course No Jinx did finish 3rd in the silver collar herself, Rosso, so it's great to have her progeny in this field. What do you say about him? Well, I said after his last one I'd have to get my thesaurus out, and I did. I put down scintillating, magnificent, exceptional. He's a freak and he's glorious because he is 16 from 16 now over the distance. He was a fantastic Group 1 winner over the 520 metres, and he's the dog to beat.
He certainly is. It's a privilege to be watching this dog doing what he is doing as we enjoy this heat win again. You mentioned the mum and the placing in the silver collar. Well, the dad, No Class, was an outstanding stayer in his own right. He went to Australia, he won races at Sandown, he won races at the Meadows. He ran 2nd over 710 metres in a Group 1 at Albion Park, the Brisbane Gold Cup, there in Brisbane. He won a heat of the Sandown Cup. He was a super dog, and now he's thrown this, and of course that match up with No Jinx. But this is the perfect dog. He's been a Group 1 winner over the middle distance. He's been 2nd in an Auckland Cup, 4th in an Auckland Cup. He's been 2nd in a New Zealand Futurity. Throw him in the Waterloo Cup, the other Group 1 on Sunday, and he is a live chance to actually win it and definitely to run a place. He's got speed, he's got the nous, and he just stays every time he steps up. He at 7:47 Cambridge, now 7:79 at Manukau. This is a real celebration of New Zealand greyhound racing. Gary Cleve's been in the game for a long time. He took a dog for me to the New Zealand Cup final over 30 years ago. He hasn't won a cup, hasn't won an Auckland Cup, hasn't won a silver collar. Sunday's the day.
It could really be the day, couldn't it, Andy McCook? Because, look, he's a dog that can win it off the front, but he's a dog that can take a knock or two as well and still power past dogs. So my question to you, Andy, is how do they beat this dog?
They can't. They can't. He'd have to fall over or come out backwards or do something absolutely stupid on the day to get rolled, No Keeper. He is just an absolute weapon. 2 starts ago over the 600 at Addington. He didn't get the start clean. He found some trouble. 3 strides after finding trouble, he was through to 2nd, and about 100 metres later, he was already in front. So even when he finds trouble, he's still too good for his opposition. He's fast, and he's got stickability at the end of 779 metres. He's used to travelling to Auckland. He's done it twice for 2 Auckland Cups, so there's no real issues around him. And it looks like, although we never like saying this in greyhound racing because we always end up with egg in our face, he's almost past the post.
It's always a concern when you say things like that, Andy, but we're here to analyse a race, and he's clearly the best dog, and the way they beat him is if there is trouble at the first bend, which we're kind of indicating there's a draw where it possibly could happen, where he might be the pincer between the 1 and the 5 if they get to the point of the bend at the same time. But this, Gary Cleve, Galen Turnbull, they've been in for a long time. We've seen their children grow up in the sport as well. It's a fabulous story, as most silver collar winners or finalists have got a story. Certainly this will be a fantastic story, and I hope it comes to its natural conclusion, because I've got no doubt that if this dog had gone to Newcastle, because there's a race worth $500,000 to the winner the night before the silver collar, and I think No Keeper would have been a real threat in that particular race. They've stayed at home to win the Duke of Edinburgh silver collar. He deserves to win that. They deserve to win it. Good luck to the others as well, but No Keeper clearly the story.
He really is, and look, I tried to go through and think of ways that he may be beaten, but it comes down for me, if they were all in a 520 metre race, these 3 top dogs with the speed, who's going to win it? I think it's No Keeper every day, and we know he can see out the 779, so he's the dog that I hope wins this race, because he certainly does deserve it. As we move on to runner number 5 in the book, Thrilling Rogue, of course, the other heat winner, and this one is trained by Kara Mulsher. Last year's winner, of course, she did train Thrilling Amelia. This time Shoreline lineup, Thrilling Rogue by Cornwith Bale, as you alluded to, Rozo. So he has got that little bit of staying paressa in his breeding lines. And of course, he did win on Sunday, but he also picked up Portia Pryor over the 600 metres. He hasn't had the most ideal prep leading into this race, so it was a sensational win from him.
Look, Karen Walsh has won 3 silver collars for owner Gary Harding, and Gary Harding's trained a couple on his own account, so he's won 5 as an owner. It's tremendous what they've been able to do over the last 15 and 20 years in greyhound racing full stop, but certainly this race as well. He did this beautifully. I mean, he drew ideally, and he was able to frank what he'd shown us in those 600 metre races, where twice he'd been sort of held up coming off the back, trying to squeeze through on the inside. And I guess that's the thing about him, is that, you know, he is looking for that rail, and he kind of needs that clear air that he's not necessarily going to get on Sunday. But he's out of Corinth Bale, as you say, who is the dam of Claus and Leo, who was second last year. And of course, Shelley Pom is a sister to Claus and Leo, and therefore an older half-sister to Thrilling Rogue. And Corinth is out of the Byrne brothers litter, Dirk Bale and Alan Ablett and Avenger Bale, who won a New Zealand Stayers Cup. So it's kind of all there for this dog. The only thing that's not is the draw.
It really is, Andy, because if you have a look back through his record from boxes 4 and out, he hasn't won from any of those draws. He's a dog that really wants the rail, and because he did have the fastest sectional, that's maybe where we can see a bit of trouble coming into this race.
Yeah, the draw has really put paid to his chances here, Thrilling Rogue. He's got to be in the mix, obviously, with what he's been able to do over ground. And one kennel you never want to underestimate is that of Kay Walsh, because if anyone can make a miracle happen, it is her. But not only has he drawn 5, he's drawn outside of No Keeper, who's the other obvious speed influence in the race. And with there being around a half a length difference between the 2 greyhounds over the sprint journey and the heats, he's going to have to improve off that. He needs to be a length and a half in front of Keeper to get across to the rail to where he wants to be, because although he did get held up on a couple of occasions in those 600 metre journeys, he still had the rail next to him and he was able to charge through and get the job done. I can't see how that happens unless he comes out absolutely lightning, so he's going to have to do work in the run. And like I said earlier, I think that brings those stronger greyhounds from back in the pack into it to possibly be able to run over the top of him late. But deserves his chance, good to have him there, and he'll add a little bit of spice early doors come Sunday.
He certainly will. I caught up with his trainer, Karen Walsh, on Sunday, and I did ask her, she must have been happy with the way that he stuck on, given that he didn't have the most ideal prep.
No, he's had a very stop-start campaign, and hasn't really done nearly as much as what we would have liked to, but so far it's been enough.
Were you surprised with how well that he stuck on today over the 779, or has he always shown you that maybe he'll see out an extreme distance like this?
You never really know until they do it, and he's only had 2 600 metre races, which he performed very, very well in. But yeah, it's always an unknown until they do it, but yeah, he ran home very nicely.
He's swab dog at the moment, but just initially bringing him off the track, how's he pulled up?
100%. I could not get him off the lure.
That's what you want to see. And are you expecting him to improve even more so after the run this week?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's always a good blowout. He's had a little bit of work leading up, but that will certainly top him off.
Will you keep him quiet throughout the week, do nothing with him?
Yeah, he won't do too much now. That's a hard run for him, so he won't have to do too much now to lead up until next week's final.
That was Karen there talking about Thrilling Rogue, but we're going to go back to Gary Cleve. Andy did catch up with him around his favourite No Keeper leading into the big race.
I've been involved in the sport near on 40 years, and I've never won a New Zealand Cup, an Auckland Cup or a silver collar. I've placed in all of them, but to win one of the big 3 would be amazing. Right from the start, he showed ability. Run sectionals that were very comparable with the high-grade dogs. The first time we slipped him from the path here, he was running equivalent times to C5 dogs.
What stands him apart from other greyhounds you've trained that make him as good as he is? Obviously unbeaten still over ground, and he's looking to keep that going.
Just the natural ability to put himself in the race early. In the past, I've sort of had back-running stayers that have sort of made late charges, invariably find trouble during the running and finish on strong too late, where No Keeper's able to put himself in the race, get up on the lead, and just keep grinding it out.
No Keeper, the benchmark of our stayers. Unbeaten when it comes to the distance racing. Can he remain unbeaten? Let's find out. We're set and ready, and they're off. No Keeper straight to the early lead here from his
did everything right, began off the boxes. There was a wee rumour that the one did like to track a bit wide, so to jump early, find the lead, take trouble out of the equation and just let him bowl along was good to see. Very strong round to the pull-up area. You know, some good dogs chasing, and they weren't taking ground, so that was good.
Putting on a show is No Keeper. Here's your favourite for the SENZ, Duke of Edinburgh Silver Collar in 7 days' time. No Keeper. He's going to blow them away in his heat. 46 and 40.
We'd sort of upped his work. He was down a wee bit in weight today. That might be the key for the final. Just keep him light and keep him active.
Obviously, the one question that always pops up with a silver collar is the week-to-week backup. We've seen him do it with the travel with the Auckland Cup. Any concern in your mind around the 779 2 weeks in a row?
It is a big ask. You know, they can cook themselves that first time and show up in the heats and look unbeatable in the final, and then it comes unstitched. But we've sort of got a plan. We sort of head back to Christchurch pretty quick, so getting back home environment, back in his own bed, start the recovery as quick as we can.
So far unbeaten over ground, does that put any pressure on you and the team to try and keep that rolling?
It'll be a sad race to break the sequence, being the pinnacle of the season. The Silver Collar's a race I've never won. The mother of No Keeper, No Jinx, placed third in the race a few years back, so it'd be nice to finally crack a big one.
There's plenty of history behind this great race, isn't it? It's the one and only race that basically every year that it was on trackside from year one when we started filming these races out here at Manukau, you wanted to be sitting down either on the couch at home or getting along to the track and watch. There'll be plenty of nerves. There's plenty of nerves when you're coming off the back of a great man like Peter Early, who's done 48 of these wonderful races, and of course all of those wonderful calls that you remember, the Swift Fantasy call, you just remember those calls like they were yesterday. So yep, come next Sunday there will certainly be plenty of nerves.
Do you have any idea how you're going to put your mark on it? You're just going to wait for it all to unfold?
No, I never try to put a mark on any of my race calls. I try to let it happen, because sometimes when you get to the races, a bit like last year's collar with Shaynee, you know, you get a really hot favourite coming into a big race like this, and all of a sudden the favourite for the series is gone. So I just like to let it all unfold out on the track and then just commentate to that. Here's your favourite for the SENZ, Duke of Edinburgh Silver Collar in 7 days' time, No Keeper. Absolutely love No Keeper, and I think he's going to be the one that they've got to beat in the final. But there's a couple in the other heats there. Thrilling Rogue now. Just how good is Thrilling Rogue? We've seen him twice over a distance, 650 metre races. Twice he's been cut off. Twice he's had to regather his momentum, and he's got up and won. Well, greyhounds don't usually do that. Team Thrilling got the collar last year. Thrilling Rogue, if he managed to get in front and find that lure or be close to the speed and get a clear run, he's going to give No Keeper a run for his money.
What a momentous occasion it's going to be for Aaron White on Sunday to call the Duke of Edinburgh Silver Collar, Rozo. And many might not know that Aaron's been involved in greyhounds for quite some time, including having one on his couch at home. So it's a big deal for him. It would be, as you yourself being a commentator, to call the Silver Collar. Oh, certainly. Look, I wouldn't mind doing that. Get the opportunity, obviously, to call some decent distance races in the Central Districts. The Silver Collar is something else. It's something very special to everybody, I think, around the country that's ever been involved in greyhound racing because of the history of the race and the nature of the race, the distance, 779 metres just being just that little bit extra further and having to do it 2 weeks in a row. But we've got the right man in Aaron White, tri-code caller. He's an excellent thoroughbred caller, Aaron. I hope he's not underrated in that discipline. In terms of his harness, well, we saw how he brought the race to life recently at Cambridge, and he just loves the dogs, and he loves No Keeper. And yes, a quarter of a century ago, when I had my best ever dog, I was actually doing battle in Group 1s up against
Aaron's very good dog. Aaron and his family raced a very good dog at the same time, and yeah, we had a few square offs there on the track. Not me and Aaron, obviously he'd win that, but the two dogs anyway. And it might have been relatively even actually the count in the end. So no, Aaron is all set to go, and Andy McCook's come to you. You obviously establishing your commentating career as well, and you've called a few of the distance races, as we've heard today, building into this. Those distance races, are they just a little bit special to you in terms of rather that than calling a 300 metre dash?
They certainly are. The greyhounds just have to be so much better to run over it, don't they? The stamina they have to show, and you know, being able to call a greyhound of the calibre of No Keeper to win races like he does, to get out in front and to keep on rolling over 700 metres is nothing short of phenomenal. So good luck to Aaron. No one puts passion into calls like 1A White. He absolutely lives for it. He loves it, and I'm sure he'll make the call his own. But two questions I have, Rozo. A, is someone going to have to keep an eye on you on Sunday so you don't go and lock yourself in the box so you can call the collar? And B, who would be favourite if you and A White squared off?
Well, is this a running race? Anyway, no, I will not be pulling any skullduggery on Sunday. I've got a job to do with trackside, which I thoroughly enjoy as well. Phillipa, we've got some more runners to get through.
We certainly do. Let's go with the only maiden distance dog in a Group 1 distance final, and his name is Centurion. He's come up with box number 6 at just his 16th start. He has qualified for the best distance race in the country. He is trained by Jean and Dave Fahey. He's by Dinah Double One out of Andrea, and he has had that one look at the track for a placing. And what a run it was, because boy, we're going to highlight this dog, Rozo and Andy, and what he does. Did things wrong, he did it himself, highlighted here. Look how many times he cops a check. I want to count about 10.
Yeah, indeed. Look, he's a young dog, but he's from the right sort of family. This is the Nina's Girl family. She won it in 2011. Years and years and years ago, I was sitting in my front office at home. I got a phone call from a man I'd never heard of called Ray Amer. And Ray wanted to chat to me about Mega Maxi, who was the greyhound I was talking before, that was squaring off with Aaron's Ebony Taboo, and he was looking to breed from Mega Maxi. He came round in the pouring rain. It was torrential, and brought me a few beers, I might add, and we sat down and discussed it. And then he has bred on from the family from there and bred all these wonderful winners, including, of course, Nina's Girl, which he owned in 2011, and now he's got Centurion from the same line. And they've got another dog that just wants to keep finding the line.
They really do, and Andy, he's just been absolutely exceptional as well. And I caught up with his trainer on Sunday there, Dave Fahey, and asked him if it had always been in the cards for this dog at start 16 or ready to go for the silver collar.
Yeah, he's always been a slow beginner and storming home at the finish, so we thought, and his bloodlines, he's grandson of Nina's Girl, who won the collar 10 years ago or so. So yeah, he's got the breeding.
Got a little bit far back in his heat today. Were you expecting that from him, and what did you make of the run?
Yeah, no, it was a good run. He runs up the bum of everyone. He's a bit of a dumbass, but no, it was a good run. Happy with that. Yeah.
How's he bounced back through it?
He seems all right so far, yeah.
Travelled a long way for a young dog. Did he seem to travel up okay, and you're not too worried about coming back up next week?
He's probably better travelling than at home. At home he barks all day, and yeah, he's much better in the van.
Are you worried about draws with him at all, or because of his little bit of a lack of early speed, you're not too concerned?
It doesn't really matter because he'll probably be at the back anyway, yeah.
Do you think he can place in the final and take a bit of improvement from that?
With a bit of luck, you never know, yeah.
And box number 7 is Shelley Pom for the young trainer and Sean Codlin. And of course, she is related to Claus and Leo. She's actually his sister, and she did qualify. He ran second in the final last year, Rozo. This time she qualifies through by hitting the line very strongly. She was in box at number 8 on that occasion. This time she'll jump from box number 7. She's a bit one pace, but again, a bit like Nighthawk style, she can stay all day.
Yeah, look, she can. I was a little surprised the run home 16:58. I thought maybe she might run through the line. Her mid-sectional was actually quite good, and she got actually sort of handy-ish in here. You could hear in Aaron's voice that she was a little handier than we may have expected. But you pointed out earlier there was actually a real lack of early speed in this, apart from No Keeper. He had to lead, and he did. And so she was sort of thereabouts. As I say, I thought she might have run home a fraction faster than she did. I called it a winner, a maiden at Palmerston North over the 4:57. She's only won one race since. That was over 6:03 about a year ago now. I'm wrapped for Sean Codlin that he's got her into this final, and she's earned her spot there. She's at 40 to 1 at the moment, but frankly, she is 100 to 1. She's not going to win the Duke of Edinburgh Silver Collar, but I think there's certainly opportunities for these dogs to run in the money.
There certainly is, and Andy, as we can have a look at there too, there was rain on the day. There's rain predicted actually all throughout the week. Is it a case of maybe if we had a really heavy track, it could bring a dog like her into this, that one pace with dogs with speed, maybe just not picking up off that quick track on a rain-affected surface?
Certainly would help a greyhound like her, there's no doubt about that. She's a greyhound who's been a handy-looking stayer for a long time now, and good to see Sean making his way through to the collar final with her. It's certainly a well-deserved place, and good for the youngsters in the game as well. Obviously, Sean, one of our younger trainers, part ownership there for Jack Shaw, who's a young fella from down here at Canterbury as well. And such is the prestige of the silver collar, they're going around as a rough chance, and they're not much chance of winning. But Jack and Blair Shaw, his father, and most people tuning in would know Blair making the trip up on Sunday to go and be part of the festivities on course. So good luck to not only Sean, but the Shaw family as well with their Group 1 finalist.
And speaking of Sean, I did catch up with him on Sunday and asked him how it felt and what did he make of the run for her to make her way through to the final.
Yeah, it was rather surprising, but good in these conditions, I'd say. I was a little bit confident when she did get, as handy as she did. She's not a world beater, but she just keeps grinding all day, and she did, did me proud. So.
What's she like with the recovery? Does she bounce back quite nicely?
Yeah, she does. She doesn't take, she doesn't take too much out of her runs. She just sort of, like I say, she's not a world beater, but she just stays all day, and that's her gig. And yeah.
How does it feel to have a dog through to the final of a Group 1 silver collar?
Very exciting. Very, very exciting.
And ideally, where would you love to run in the final? Obviously, everyone wants to win it, but would you be absolutely stoked with even just a placing?
I'd be over the moon with the top 4. A placing would be excellent. Yep.
We wish you the best of luck, Sean.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, last and certainly not least is Little Teague. She is drawn in box number 8. She'll wear the pink rug for Arch Lawrence. She was third in the final last year. She's beautifully bred by Dinah Vickers out of Little Teague, and of course owned by Arch and Gloria themselves. And they are just astute staying trainers, aren't they? They've won this race multiple times, Rosso, and it's great to see her back in the fight once again at a grand old age.
Yeah, never easy, is it? She's rising 5, and she was able to place, as you say, third last year. She was third in the T McDonald not so long ago at Cambridge, over the 747 metres behind our hot favourite No Keeper. In the heat here, look, she had battled past He's Ali late in the piece to make her way through the final. She's drawn box number 8, which is not really ideal for her style. Arch, Lawrence and Gloria, well, look, they've had T Maria win in 2016, Quinella with a little sister Chandel. Chandel was a promoted winner in 2015, and they first won it in 2012. They love this race with a passion. I'm delighted that Little Teagues has made the final for them. With a fair bit of racing luck, she could be a chance to maybe sneak a minor placing, but you just have to think parked outside this field, that's a real struggle.
Especially with her wanting that rail, and that could be a key thing as well with her off box at number 8. And this is another performance from her as well, last time just tracking herself into the race. So that's her in the green rug, and as you can allude to there, she just wants us to come across to the rail. Sometimes she can jump a little bit better than she actually did in her heat, so look, she could cause a little bit of trouble. Hopefully not, though, to our 2 favourites in boxes 5 and 4.
Yeah, look, there is a little bit of outside pressure in, obviously, for her, and we've talked about Thrilling Rogue. But then if you look at her early sectionals, particularly these days, and it was a 1933 sprint from her last week, and in those sort of initial stages, rush to the first bend, you just wouldn't expect her to be on the outside of any of the key contenders, and therefore she may not have too much of a say in the outcome of the race.
Well, it's now time to put our hats on the line and talk strategy. We have to get some selections out. So I'll start with you, Mark Rosanowski. Where are you going in the silver collar final?
Well, I am being deadly dull and boring, but that's why I've got the young Andy McCook on the show to look outside of this, and I'm going pretty much in market order. And I've actually only got Mr. Fahrenheit in for third, but however, I'm tossing up between him and Thrilling Rogue, second and third. And even if No Keeper wins and Thrilling Rogue runs second, I'm pretty confident Mr. Fahrenheit will run in the top 3, $3.100 a place. Or if you want to be more conservative, wait for the top 4 market and see what you might get there. Andy, I'm hearing from you in our run through so far that you've got a couple you like for a little bit of longer odds. They're going to sneak in and upset the favourites trifecta.
I'm always one to try and find a little bit of value somewhere, and it wouldn't be me if we didn't go rough. I really like Nighthawk Style. I think if she can just secure a nice little run along the rails off a moderate beginning, get in behind a couple of these greyhounds who might just want off the rail a touch. She'll be there at the end when it's all over. $25 exactor. I think No Keeper's Silbo start home as long as he can get a clean run, which was the only thing that can beat him. And then the two roughies and behind him, Nighthawk Style, No Account, I think both very good through their heats, and it wouldn't surprise me if either of those were able to run into second or third and both look nice place plays. Phillipa, how are you seeing the collar?
Look, I can't not have a little play on Mr. Fahrenheit. Obviously, always a dream to get a dog into the silver collar, and even though it's mum and dad's dog, I'm going to claim him. So I'm going to go $50 a place on Mr. Fahrenheit, and I'm playing a first for $50 percentage there. No Keeper to win, 1, 5 and 6 for second, then going a little bit wider in behind 1, 5, 6, 2, 3 and 6, 2, 3 and 8 to run fourth. Now it's time to talk selections. Mark Rosanowski, I think I know who you've got on top, but who have you got in behind?
Yeah, indeed. No Keeper on top, the 4, obviously. And then I'm playing 5, Thrilling Rogue, 1, Mr. Fahrenheit, could possibly toss those around. And I've got Centurion in for 4th. And Andy, I'm very sorry, it's market order, but I know that you're going to buck that trend.
I'm definitely going to buck that trend. No Keeper on top. He's obviously the one who they all have to beat. Nighthawk Style, No Account. I think both of those greyhounds are capable of running into the minors at big money. And in behind them, Thrilling Rogue put him in. Was a toss-up between the 1 and the 5 for me. And behind them, I think both drawn upside down. But with the right runs, could both run into it. Pip, where are you looking?
I'm boring as well, Andy. I'm going with No Keeper on top. I've just sliced 1 ahead of Thrilling Rogue, and that's Mr. Fahrenheit. I thought perhaps he could just get ahead of him this time, and that could be the turning of the tables. And Centurion, I just thought he was the most eye-catching dog of both heats, and if he got close enough, he could certainly run top 4. Well, it's time now to turn our attention to our other Group 1 on the program. This one over the 527 metres. It is the grandstanding Waterloo Cup. Final field here, option 3401. Talbingo Bale for Craig Roberts, of course, has won this race with the likes of Dirk Bale at $2.50. A Power Wayne for Gene and Dave Fahey at 3.8. And I was surprised to see that Gene and Dave Fahey haven't taken out a Waterloo Cup yet, Rosso.
It seems quite remarkable. I thought, oh, have I missed something here? I better text Dave. But no, he hasn't won a Waterloo Cup or a railway sprint. But he gets a good opportunity here with Opawa Wayne, second, of course, in the Auckland Cup behind Opawa Superstar, who's not part of the series. But, of course, third in that Auckland Cup, and a very good third too, was Talbingo Bale. And to be frank, that Christchurch heat did, right from the outset of the 4 Waterloo Cups heats that have been run at different venues, did look to be the one that was probably going to be the form analysis to do for the final, even though it's at a different track, Manukau.
It really is, and we're going to take a look through all 4 heats with them being run right around the country, and we're going to start at Cambridge with Pedro Lee, the king of Cambridge, of course, over the 457 metres. Andy, this was a superior performance from him. He's been doing this week in, week out, but the key to Pedro Lee is Manukau Stadium.
Yeah, he's the king of Cambridge, isn't he? There's no doubt about that. So far, his record at Auckland has been a little bit plain. To be fair to him, he has only ever gone to Auckland and had a crack at the big races, so been taken on the country's best dogs. But still, in saying that, it's hard to see him competing 2 turns against a greyhound like Talbingo Bale and Wheelhouse, who makes his way through to the final in a similar vein as well. Both deserve their place, Pip, but I think both may be struggling.
Well, the winner of the second heat, which we're going to take a look at very shortly, is Talbingo Bale. The dog running in behind him that qualifies is a Power Wayne. So Wayne's in the red rug. Talbingo Bale, with his exceptional early speed, he takes up the lead. And look, Rosso, he just run exceptional times at the moment. He's in great form to really take out this race. And of course, he was third in the Auckland Cup at Manukau.
Yeah, exactly. So these 2 dogs that are first and second here were second and third in reverse order in the Auckland Cup. And I thought Opawa Wayne did well to hang in there on this sort of speed, but we know that Wayne can do that, you know. So, as I say, right from the outset, it looked like the strongest heat. The fact that they dominated that heat, which was actually, you know, stacked with talent, and that they've both been to Manukau before and performed on the big stage. And, of course, Talbingo Bale won a heat going into that final of the Auckland Cup, and his placing was actually very, very good. And he's been overcoming awkward draws, so he's the dog to beat.
Mustang Charlie up at Manukau. Let's have a look at the performance from him. And Allegro Mars qualifies in behind as well. He'll finish second and make his way through to the final. But once again, Rozo, this is what Mustang Charlie does, and he's got exceptional second phase acceleration.
It's just amazing what he can do in the way that he blows past very good dogs. Now, recently he went down to Edinburgh and he took it to Talbingo Bale, and then Talbingo Bale came through over the concluding stages. But drawing underneath Talbingo might beat him out, then Charlie will surge. Look, he hasn't been to Manukau on race day, but he did go there on Sunday. He had a box-to-box trial. Led up in opening split was 470. Into the back mark. Look, both opening split and to the back mark, a fraction behind Pedro Lee. Pedro Lee clocked 30 and 47 in a full trial there on Sunday. Look, it's got to be said that Mustang Charlie has got the ability to make an impact in the race. Allegro Mars looks a touch outclassed.
He does, as we have a look at You Know Me Now of winning her heat there on Sunday, and she did it off the front, but unfortunately she drew one in the final, in the heat, sorry. This time she's come up with box number 8 in the final, and running in behind Rozo is Milky T.
Yeah, indeed. Good to see Milky T into another Group 1 final. She's run a couple of thirds so far in the New Zealand Breeder Stakes and the New Zealand Oaks, and they're, of course, against their own age group. Here she's up against the toughest, but really good, strong run in front here from You Know Me Now, and trained by a real character too in AJ Christensen.
Primo, she went super. Really lucky to have her. A lot of people have helped me get to where I am. Andy Lord and Jared Udy, Peter Henley, you know, the list goes on of people I could thank, but we're stoked. Huge for us.
You have to be wrapped when you've seen her jump like that and quickly find the front.
Yeah, she's a good bitch in front. She follows speed good, but you know, she's real good on the lure. She'll improve a lot with that. She's 2 weeks fresh, so hopefully onwards and upwards we get a draw in the final and we'll do our best.
How does she bounce back through her races?
Beautiful. She's the best I've got at that. I could run her day to day just about. Very clean-winded, very easy to do things with, you know. We'd sort of change her training a little bit and she adapts really well. Nothing phases her, she just don't like the rain.
Well, she did like it today. Is she a bitch that needs to be in the top 2 to 3 to win this race, you believe?
If we're behind Craig's dog, and probably Dave's always hard, but at the end of the day, you know, I don't really think it matters with her. We probably can't run some of the times that some of the other big boys can do, but we'll be right there, like, you know, we're never scared. So, yeah, we'll have a crack.
Great to see them putting one in as well and getting the spoils through to the final. Rozo, time for selections. Where are you going?
Well, the first 4 letters of market are Mark, and I'm going with that market again. I've got to say, Talbingo Bale. Craig Roberts looking for his 5th Waterloo Cup. He won it for the first time in 1998 with Flash Happy. Pawa Wayne, look, he's what's he been in? The St Ledger, the Derby, the Auckland Cup, and now he's into the Waterloo Cup. I'd be backing both the 2 favourites trying to win a percentage of my stake there. Pedro Lee, I think, can run a placing, and Mustang Charlie, he is hoping for that mid-race burn to make this interesting. How about you, Andy?
That's some of your very best, Mark. That's some of your very best. I don't know how to follow on from that. 6, 3, 2 and 8 for me with Talbingo Bale. He's just an absolute weapon of an animal. He's very fast. Opawa Wayne, very good in his own right. Milky T, sticking with the Cantabrians. We know she's got decent 2-turn form, and also You Know Me Now. If she had drawn inside, I would have been very keen on her to push the favourites, but she's got a job in front of her, but still good enough to give them something to think about.
I'm reversing the order and I'm going with Pawa Wayne. I think he can grab his first Group 1 box draws. I just think play a little part here. So I'm putting him on top ahead of Talbingo Bale. I think Pedro Lee can actually break the buck too at Manukau, and I'm putting Mustang Charlie in for 4th. That's all we've got time for. I hope you've enjoyed the coverage and the show, and make sure you tune in to Trackside 1 on Sunday to tune into the coverage if you can't be on track. Looking forward to it. The 2022 SENZ Duke of Edinburgh Silver Collar.
All alone at the end of the evening, and the bright lights have faded to blue.
It's like the New Zealand Cup in trotting.
Astro Teddy still in front, he's starting to wobble. Astro Teddy, look at the runs now. Oh God, I don't know. It could be Aquamouse.
It's the best staying race in Australasia.
It's not a dream, it's a fantasy, it's a swift fantasy.
You know I've always been a dreamer.
It's like the Derby in thoroughbreds.
Dusty Gambler out wide, ring the bell, boom, boom, he's home.
So hard to change. Can't seem to settle down. 'cause the dreams I've seen lately
This is the race.
keep turning.